One day, the messages slow down. The warmth fades. The laughter you once shared now echoes in an empty room. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't explain. She just pulled away. And the question begins to haunt you late at night. Why do women pull away suddenly when nothing seemed wrong? Was it something you said? Something you didn't say? Or something much deeper that neither of you could name? Here's the hard truth. Most men are never taught. When someone pulls away without warning, it's rarely sudden. It only feels sudden to the one left behind. What you're experiencing isn't just confusion. It's the quiet pain of realizing that emotional distance can grow long before physical distance ever appears. In this story, we won't blame, we won't chase easy answers. We'll sit with the discomfort because wisdom lives there. This is not about manipulation, not about games, not about winning someone back. This is about understanding human nature and learning how to stand steady when someone you care about drifts into silence. Because sometimes the greatest lesson doesn't come from being chosen, but from being left. When a woman pulls away, the instinct is to look outward, to replay conversations, to search for a mistake like a detective chasing a ghost. But her withdrawal often has less to do with what you did, and more to do with what she is feeling, can't explain. Inside her, something begins to feel heavy. Not dramatic, not explosive, just quietly exhausting. She may feel unseen, even while being admired, desired, but not deeply understood. Close, yet emotionally alone. And here's the painful paradox. The more a man tries to fix this with effort, reassurance, or intensity, the more pressure she feels. Not because effort is wrong, but because emotional overload makes closeness feel like a demand. She doesn't pull away because she stopped caring. Often, she pulls away because caring has become confusing. She senses an expectation she doesn't know how to meet. A version of herself she's afraid she can't live up to. So distance becomes her only form of relief. Silence is not her weapon. It is her shelter. And while you sit there wondering how to bring her closer, she's trying to breathe again. This is the suffering no one talks about, the space between affection and obligation, where love quietly starts to feel like weight. There is a truth about human connection that feels uncomfortable, especially for those who love deeply. Attraction does not grow under pressure. It grows in freedom. When a woman begins to pull away, it's often because the emotional space has collapsed. Not from conflict, but from over-closeness, without inner grounding. Psychologically, desire needs room to move. Safety without suffocation. Presence without possession. A man who loses his center, who begins to orbit her moods, her responses, her distance, unknowingly hands away the very polarity that once attracted her. This isn't about dominance. It's about self-containment. A grounded man stands rooted in his own life. His purpose doesn't disappear when someone enters his world. His peace doesn't depend on constant validation. And when that center weakens, she feels it before you do. She may not have words for it. She just feels something shift. A subtle loss of tension, a fading mystery. So she steps back, not to punish, but to see if you are still standing without her. This is where many men panic. They chase reassurance instead of clarity. They lean in harder when the moment calls for stillness. And in doing so, they confuse attachment with connection. Understanding this truth doesn't make the pain disappear, but it transforms confusion into awareness. And awareness is power. I once knew a man who did everything right. He listened. He showed up. He gave time, attention, consistency, and still she drifted. At first, he fought it with words, long messages, careful explanations. Emotional honesty poured out like a confession. Nothing worked. So one night, exhausted, he stopped reaching, not as a tactic, not as a teshi, but because he had nothing left to prove. And something strange happened. In the silence, he noticed how much of himself he had abandoned, the friends he stopped calling, the goals he postponed, the quiet strength he once carried without needing permission. He didn't become colder. He became clearer. He rebuilt his days around meaning instead of waiting, around purpose instead of hope. Weeks later, she reached out, not because he disappeared, but because he returned to himself. And here's the part most people misunderstand. The lesson wasn't how to make her come back. The lesson was realizing he was whole, even if she didn't. That shift, from needing connection to choosing it, changed the way he loved forever. There comes a quiet moment, not loud, not dramatic, when you finally stop asking why she pulled away and start asking who you became while holding on. This is the awakening. You realize that love was never meant to cost you your center. That closeness should deepen your life, not replace it. That lone, when unchecked, turns into self. The moment you release the need to be chosen, you step back into your natural strength. Not indifference, not bitterness, but calm authority over your own emotional world. You stop monitoring silence. Stop translating delays into meaning. Stop bending your spirit to keep someone comfortable. And paradoxically, this is when love becomes clean again. Whether she returns or not no longer defines you. You are no longer negotiating your worth. This is not withdrawal. This is grounded presence. And from this place, something sacred happens. You become capable of loving without fear, because fear was never love's companion. Freedom was. So, how do you live this truth in real life? How do you navigate the sudden pull without losing yourself? First, breathe into your own life. Reconnect with the parts of yourself that have nothing to do with her. Friends, work, hobbies, goalsies are not distractions. They are the gravity that keeps you grounded. Second, observe without overreacting. Notice her distance without turning it into a crisis. Silence is information, not judgment. Curiosity replaces panic. Third, speak from your center, not your fear. If you communicate, do so calmly, without demand. Your words should carry presence, not pressure. A grounded man's voice doesn't plead, it expresses. Fourth, allow space for emotion to flow. It's natural to feel hurt, confused, or frustrated. Let these feelings move through you without becoming a map for your actions. Finally, remember that love is a dance, not a possession. Polarity grows when both hearts remain free yet committed. Closeness without suffocation, presence without control, that is the delicate rhythm most miss. This is the practical art of holding both yourself and her with respect. Strong enough to stand alone, wise enough to love fully, patient enough to wait without grasping. In the end, the sudden distance of someone you care about is not a punishment. It is zamihor, a reflection of your own inner landscape. She pulls away, and the world slows down. Your mind races at first, but eventually, silence becomes a teacher. You begin to see patterns you ignored. You notice the ways you abandoned yourself to please. You understand the delicate balance between holding on and letting go. And in that understanding, a strange peace emerges. You realize that love is not a contract, not a guarantee. It is a moment of grace, a meeting of hearts, standing firm in your own life. You carry the quiet strength that no absence can steal. You learn that emotional independence is not loneliness. It is freedom. It is clarity. It is love that begins and ends within you. So the next time she pulls away, don't chase. Don't plead. Don't shrink. Stand steady. Breathe. Trust that life moves in cycles, that hearts open and close, and that your own center is always enough. Because in the silence, you find yourself, and in finding yourself, you are finally free to love without fear. Thank you for sitting with me through this journey. Remember, love is never about control. It is about presence. When someone pulls away, it doesn't diminish your worth. It is an invitation to return to yourself, to stand steady, and to embrace the freedom that comes from inner strength. If this video resonated with you, consider subscribing and joining a community that values wisdom, reflection, and growth. And share this with someone who might need to hear that silence is not the end, it can be the beginning of clarity, peace, and real love. Stay grounded, stay patient, and above all, stay true to yourself.